So this idea I had, it came from music, and over a course of a few days, I was just watching different artists, and I noticed a trend that they kept saying the same kind of thing, and I couldn't believe it. Actually, it was crazy. And the idea is how a trick evolves that you're doing. So if you're working on a trick right now, and then later on, an hour later, or the next day, or a week later, how it changes. And sometimes it naturally just evolves, and sometimes it happens kind of intentionally. And I think in pairs is something where it's pretty easy for me to define exactly what I'm talking about. And there's no point to this episode. It's just something fun to talk about, I think. So,
is there a point to any of our episodes, to be honest?
So there's a, and the reason the music thing really makes a lot of sense with pairs, because you have, like, our pairs is like a group, because there's three of us.
There's a band.
It's like a band. We got like a full band. I mean, I don't know how we would do.
You're rocking out.
It's gonna be tough. We're not gonna have any bass. You know what we're like? The White Stripes. Drummer and then singer and guitarist. That's all you need.
We don't need a bassist. We don't need a bassist.
Right.
I'm a drummer because I beat you up every time you do something.
I was going to say, you like the beat thing, so
and
there
then,
you go.
Well, I don't know if Sora's the singer. She's so quiet, but with Flair, she's a loudmouth, so she's definitely the singer if she's our pairs dog.
Well, I was going to say, I got a beautiful deep voice.
Actually, I think you're the singer because you won't shut up.
Oh, my God.
And then the guitarist that makes it all just happen, that's the dog.
And if I start doing this, guys, I'm not safe. Okay, if I'm tapping my arm,
that's a signal.
That's my signal.
Well, the audio listeners won't be able to see that. So
when this video stops, you don't even know what happens. All right, so the first note that I have written down is from Chad Smith, who's the drummer of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Great drummer. Doesn't really fit in a band so much. He's more like a straight rock and roll drummer and like a funky, punk kind of band, but he's really cool. And he said that what he loves about the recording sessions is he'll present an idea to the rest of the band, and it'll turn into just like a completely different thing by the time they're at the end of it. And that could be days, weeks, even months later, sometimes years. These songs will sometimes be in the back burner for years. And then they say, remember that song we did? That might fit in here. And then they bring it back. And that was one example, Chad Smith saying that. So I was thinking, like with us doing disc, one of us makes a suggestion, and then the changes that are required to maybe do what we had in our mind end up adjusting how things in the trick are evolving. So if we decide, you have something in your mind, and a lot of times it just doesn't work out the way that you think, and then we start working on it, and then other things start coming from it. Sometimes a completely different trick. And we're cool with that. Like it completely evolves, and it adds to the fun nature of it, again, especially in pairs. So you guys should try pairs if you haven't done it, because all kinds of crazy things happen, and it evolves even more. Because I think a lot of times in my like singles routine, if I come up with a trick and let's say I start adjusting it or whatever, it just isn't working out. I'm like, whatever, I'll just move on to something else. But in pairs, a lot of times the other person comes, is like, no, wait, I got an idea how we could do that. Whatever your idea might be, that we can change it and adjust it.
Yeah.
So I was going to give just another example of the music thing, and then we can talk a little bit.
I was going to actually just add to your pairs thing that why is it when we're like evolving a trick and like something's like going, how come I'm always the one that falls? How come I'm always the one like on the ground crying?
That's part of the evolution of our tricks.
How come you're not the one that falls? Why is it always me? How come I'm always getting tripped and or run into or
run over?
Yeah, what is that about?
Luckily, it's usually not really my fault though. So like, you don't have to blame me.
Except for the times that you like stick your foot out and trip me, but okay.
Oh my God.
I have video proof.
You're gonna have to stick that in here because I don't believe you. Okay, so very interesting. Charlie Benante of Anthrax, who is also their drummer. I don't know how I got two drummers. It happened this way. One thing about him is a little different though. If you happen to listen to Anthrax, heavy metal band, they're really good. They've been around since like 1982 or something like that. He actually writes most of their songs, the riffs, the music, even though he's their drummer. And he doesn't play guitar on any of the songs except for like one or two times, just as like a fun thing. I think he played a couple songs. And he's a tremendous guitarist. He's really the best guitarist in the band, but his drum playing is, a lot of times he's listed as one of the greatest drummers ever kind of thing. The guy's phenomenal. He's playing in Pantera right now. He's the guy who took over for the drumming in Pantera for the late Vinnie Paul. But he said almost the exact same kind of thing, is that he says he'll come up with a guitar riff, or even if he's not playing it, he'll just have it in his mind. And he comes up with some guitar riff melody, whatever, and he comes up with this idea. He might, sound it out like that or play it for them. And the guys hear it and say, oh, I really like that. And they play it the way they heard it. And when they play it, it comes out completely different. I mean, it's like concept, it's along the same vein of what he was thinking of, but it didn't come out the same way. And he thinks, wow, that's really cool. That isn't what I had in mind, but that's great. And we do that all the time in our pairs, where we describe something to one another, and then we think we get it. You give me an idea.
Yeah,
okay,
I got it. When I tell you something, it's like in one ear out the other.
I go out and then I do something different. And you're like, well, that's pretty cool. That isn't what I was thinking of. And then the other way too.
And then usually we end up with two things.
And then we'll say, well, why don't we do both? And you show me what you really meant.
Wait, those are two different things. Let's do both.
So it's really a fun thing for us, I think, because of the brainstorming and the way that the tricks evolve. We come up with so many different ideas in pairs because there's two of us doing it. And when we bounce things off of each other, just like a band in a room, when you hear it's kind of like when you say something to somebody and they repeat it back to you and they leave out a word or they change a word or something like that.
Like the game of telephone.
Is that how that one? I don't know that.
You don't know what?
No, the only one I know is like I forget what it was called. It would go beep boop boop beep boop boop boop, and then you had to hit them in the correct order or whatever.
That I don't know, but I did have the Clefairy N64 game where you had to hit the right arrows in the right orders. And
okay.
You didn't do it right.
Okay, it's the same. It's the same kind of like.
But it was kind of a memory thing.
Yeah, the game that I played was called Memory. It was like some play on the word memory. It's a very famous one. It only had 4 lights on it, I think, and it was like. That's old 80s stuff. But
I wouldn't know about that.
But yeah, you experience that in everyday life. You say something to somebody and they say something back to you. And it's not just that they didn't hear you or they couldn't understand you because you were mumbling or too quiet or whatever. Our brains are just, they can't process every single piece of information, I'm sure. And
you just grab onto what you hear.
You grab onto little pieces and parts. Even if you're hearing a song and you've heard the song a million times, and you always hear the wrong lyric.
Yeah.
No matter what. And then after a certain point, that's just how it is. And then when you find out that the lyric's different, you're all depressed and stuff. Maybe it's not as cool as your lyrics.
Taylor Swift people know about Starbucks lovers.
But here's the other really good thing, or really fun thing about this, is that when we evolve the trick, it doesn't hurt our feelings that oh, gee, that wasn't my original idea.
I get actually so offended.
Shush.
Wow, Jeff, you didn't understand. So dumb.
And it's really cool that we could appreciate the other person's interpretation of it. It's like someone doing a cover of a song and then they add their own twist to it or whatever, how they heard it or how they enjoyed it. And there's no offense to it.
So I actually had something to add to this that's kind of interesting. So you may not experience this with every single dog, but there are certain dogs, and I feel like it's the dogs that tend to generalize behaviors really well. And what I mean by generalize is that you teach them something and then suddenly they'll do it somewhere else, like they can do it anywhere. And Sora is one of those dogs that just generalizes stuff. You teach her one thing once and then you go somewhere else and she'll just do it, or she'll just offer you something that you've already taught her and you're like, oh, I didn't know you would do that here now. And it's funny, I think I made a video on it a while ago, just one of the examples, but she does this all the time. But I was actually trying to teach her a dog catch where I threw it behind my back and I'd catch her just like a regular dog catch. Well, instead of doing the dog catch, she decided to take it and then she'd rebound off of me instead. So she kind of created her own trick with it. And I was like, that was absolutely not what I had in mind at all, but it was really cool. I'm like, oh, actually, maybe I could use that instead. And so she's done some things like that before that it just made the routine more interesting or gave me more tricks to use or something different or something better than I had in mind. And she's done that multiple times. I can't think of all the examples off the top of my head, but that's just one of them. But to me, it's really fun. Not all dogs are like that, but Sora definitely is. And it's one of the things that makes it really fun to train something new, because even if it's not what you were intending, you're like, oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah. So my last musical reference, but one of the singers for I don't know if it was Pink or who it was, but I saw them in an interview saying, "What about people misinterpreting your lyrics and they're singing something different or whatever?" And it can have a completely different meaning if they misinterpret the lyrics. And I just thought it was great that the singer said, "Oh no, that's no problem at all. That's completely fine." And they said the same thing that I'd always thought, is that once you find out what the real lyric is, you a lot of times don't like it as much, and then you're disappointed, and then you hear it and you're like, this is how I always heard it. How did I not know that? And it kind of almost makes it worse in a way. And they say it's no problem at all, and it all comes down to art is up for interpretation.
I was just thinking that,
It's
actually.
so true.
And I feel like a lot of, and you find this especially in music and painters and stuff, where they actually, you know what, I would say all artists, now that I'm really thinking about it, people that are sculptors, those kinds of things, a lot of them say that their work is, they don't necessarily give a meaning to their work like outright, or they might hint at something, but it's always up for interpretation, and they say that's like the beauty of it, is that somebody else can make their own thoughts about it.
Right. And so your point about Sora or dogs in general that start changing things or coming or doing it differently than you thought, that was actually the thing I wanted to go into next.
Yeah.
Because I think it's more obvious with the human side of it, how we interpret things, and then we do something different. The dog, I guess they're interpreting it too, but they're just doing whatever they're thinking, whether this is what you want them to do or what they want to do. And
well, they're just guessing most of the time. When you're trying to train them something
new,
yes, they're kind of guessing at what you want.
Right. And I think it's great when they come up with their own ideas. And I've said
and a lot of times it's something that they naturally wanted to do anyway, because they're like, okay, maybe this is what they want me to do, and then they do it, and it's like, oh, actually that's cool, and then you can reward them for it, even if it wasn't something
right. And if
you asked for.
If it's something that they wanted to just do naturally, if it works for you and it's cool or you like it or whatever, it's going to end up being better.
Yeah.
And it's going to be just a shortcut to the end. Well, you already got the trick done, or whatever it is that you're training, because they're already doing it like in their own particular way.
Yeah.
And I've said this on the podcast many times. I like giving my dogs the room to express how they want to do something, and to train things in their own way. And it comes all the way down even to the things that can be considered pretty objective, like handoffs. When we talked about handoffs and things like that in one of the podcasts, I had said that I am very open to whatever the dog wants to do. If they have a way that they prefer doing it, I will generally allow them to do it however they want, as long as I can work with it. Because if it's their natural way of doing things, it's going to be better.
Yeah, well, and you're less likely going to spend time fighting on like small stuff that really is the small stuff that doesn't really matter that much. If it's kind of their natural way, that's just going to be easier.
Right.
And you don't really want to fight and nitpick the little details that really ultimately don't matter.
Right. If perfect example with the handoff real quick, Muse, I taught her to kind of jump up. I could just stand completely upright with my arm straight out, and she would jump up and put it into my hand. Well, Bon Bon is really tiny. She did not like that idea. It's not that she had a huge problem with it, but she was running straight and pushing it right into my hand. And I'm
she's
thinking,
also
well,
teeny,
she's doing
so
it. She's little, but it's also way harder for me to get down real low. All she had to do, if she just gets up a little tiny bit, it would help a lot. But she doesn't. I go all the way down to her, 14 and a half inches tall.
I know. I was seeing you. You get down in the squat
all the way down and just let her put it right into my hand, because we do that. It works really fast, and she likes it. And I just roll with it. But you could also have a completely different concept, like a completely different trick, like you had mentioned with Sora, like totally different. You weren't thinking about that. Instead of a dog catch, it's a rebound. Those are not the same thing whatsoever.
No, not at all.
And if it worked, go with it. And we get that in pairs so many times. The dog will do something, and we're like, okay, we're doing that. Right. And our other idea, let's try to do that maybe in a different way so it looks different. They don't confuse it, right?
Yeah, right.
But use that other concept because we thought we had a good idea. The dog just wanted to do something different. We're like, this is cool. Because it's so fun. Every time this happens, we're like, oh, this is great. And a lot of times the other person's like facing a different direction because the dog's vaulting off of them, or they're just facing the opposite direction for whatever reason, don't even get to see it. And then one of us that does see it is like, this is so cool. Okay, we got to do this. This is completely different, but we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
Or like something real simple. Like Sora a lot of times has a strong opinion on which way she wants to go after a trick, if she wants to turn left or right. And a lot of times we have an idea where, okay, we're going to have her go this way, and then she's going to turn right, and then we're going to do another trick. She goes the opposite direction, and she just wants to go that way. A lot of times we'll just work with it.
Well, it's funny.
Well, let's change what we're going to do to let her do it.
It's funny because you say that you do let her do stuff. For me, like in my routines, a lot of times I'm telling her really early, like before she's catching the initial disc. A lot of times I'm telling her the direction to go, and then she learns it.
Okay, but that's whenever you're doing it. I'm talking about the training portion of it.
Oh yeah.
You do a trick, and then the dog goes a different direction than you anticipated. That you don't necessarily force them to go the other way because it just has to be that way for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because you can always say, well, maybe I'll take that part I wanted to do that way and put it somewhere else in the routine and just use what they're doing. Or think, that looks really neat. Actually, when they did that, now it looks like an S shape instead of a circle or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny to me that she goes in a way, like a lot of times I think you're surprised at the direction she chooses. And maybe it's just because she's my dog and I'm used to her. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I figured. Like,
right.
But I also taught her a lot of that stuff too. I was gonna say, you were talking about the handoff with Bonbon. I actually, like with Sora, I don't personally prefer the give and go handoff for me. I don't like doing it as much. Sora likes it. Sora does not want to waste time going around. She fights on the handoff more. She is like, why are we doing extra stuff? And then it's like there's so many different pieces of it that like adding the around just doesn't benefit Sora or me so much. And so despite me preferring to just do an around so I can have more time and I can see her better, nope, we do the give and go.
Have a cup of tea.
She does a lot of things like that I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm not even gonna, you just
take your cup of tea then.
I'm like, you just do what you want, sister, and she'll just be in the right spot. She just makes it all magical. But yeah, I don't really fight her, even though I have a vision in my head of what I would like her to do. But sometimes her way of doing it is better just because she likes doing it that way. Right. She feels more confident, including like the handoff. She turns and she goes on a counterclockwise flank out there. And I don't like that as much. I would like her to go on a clockwise flank because I feel like she comes the wrong direction towards the disc. But whatever, you know what, when I put her on the clockwise flank, if I make her do that, one, she's like, don't make me do this, I want to go counterclockwise, thank you very much. And also she doesn't catch as well. It's kind of interesting because like all of my experience and like my vision of like what a lot of good toss and fetch looks like is for me as a right hand thrower to send her on a clockwise flank, and she's like, nope, I'm going counterclockwise. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to argue with you. That's fine. You know what? You just do it. That's fine. And she's had a lot of success doing that because I just, something I say a lot, especially in freestyle, is like, don't get married to an idea or a vision. Yeah. Because sometimes the reality of it is not going to match that. I mean, we're playing with dogs. Living creatures are going to have their own mindset about it and thoughts and feelings, and if you want to have your vision about how you're playing and not be so controlling about what your dog's doing. But yeah, don't get married to an idea. Be open to letting your dog make some decisions, or your pairs partner,
and when
if you like them, if you're okay with them
really
making a choice.
Really work with your pairs partner to take their ideas and expand upon them, or try to make them your own, and try to make sure it's open between you that we're going to be doing this, that we're going to be adjusting each other's ideas, or whether it's intentional or not, and just roll with that and go with it. It just makes it so much easier and more enjoyable. And I love seeing whenever the dogs come up with their own ideas, and and just seeing like what they like to do, and expanding upon it, and it's just going to make things better.
Yeah, I think that was something, in the beginning of like my time in the sport, like my first dog sketch did not want to do a lot of the things that, were kind of like exciting to me in the beginning, because, I had never really seen a dog vault or, do a dog catch, and like those things were like, my eyes lit up seeing that stuff, and sketch didn't really want to do that stuff so much. Part of that was me not knowing how to train it when I first started. But I think looking back now, after having multiple disc dogs is like, think about it long term. Like, as you keep playing, you get another dog with a different style that's going to want to do something else. You only have that one dog once, each dog. And even if some dogs have similar styles, they're never exactly the same. You're going to get a little bit of differences between each dog. And sometimes it's a lot of difference between each dog. So just to further push that idea of don't get married to an idea is like, maybe that's not for this dog. Maybe that's for another dog in the future that is, more interested in that idea.
Yeah, and perfect example. I had a dog in my class a very long time ago. I mean, this has been a very long time. And it was a small little dog that was kind of insane. I mean, it was really fun to play with. And do you remember Hippo?
Yes.
He was
God.
a Cairn Terrier, and he was a terror.
He was a terror, all right.
He was extremely aggressive on the disc. He would shred them like you wouldn't believe. I mean, shocking that this little tiny dog can do to a disc what he would do. And the people who owned him, they're my friends. And they were training. There was another instructor, and they continued this whenever I took over the class, and I put a stop to it. And it was that they had been working for a year now on getting this dog to weave, because they wanted to have a pre-routine and they wanted to weave with the dog. And because everyone was doing weaves.
Hippo did not want to do a weave.
You hardly ever see them now, but everyone's weaving. When I say weaves, if you're not familiar,
leg weave.
Leg weaves, the dog weaves through your legs. You can either do it when you're standing in one place and you kind of shift your legs and let them weave through, or you do it when you're walking and they weave between your legs. And every time the dog, Hippo would go through one way, it would jump up, lunge at the disc, half the time bite their hand, they'd be bleeding and stuff. They go through the next leg and it would jump up. So in my first class, I couldn't wait to tell them this, because I wasn't gonna just give them what do you call it? You give someone advice when they're not asking for it. They'd never asked me about it. Unsolicited advice up to that point. Well, now they're in my class, so I'm just gonna tell them. And the first thing I says, drop it. You're not doing weaves. Stop it. Don't think about it. And they were kind of shocked.
Get it on, see if you want to do weaves.
Yeah,
and they did.
And I just said, he doesn't want to do it. Look at this dog who's so fun and just wants to run around like crazy and catch discs. Do that. Don't worry about the weaves. Well, how do I do a pre-routine? What do I do? You don't.
That dog didn't need a pre-routine.
As soon as your music starts, you throw the disc and you just get into it. The dog had no patience for anything.
No.
And so what do? You feed on that, because the dog was aggressive and fast and fun. Why slow him down with something that has nothing to do with its personality?
He did not understand, like, why are you asking me to do this right now?
And then
just throw the thing.
And then as soon as I told them that and they started playing, they're like, because they would spend half their time trying to do weaves every time. It was painful to watch. And as soon as I took over the class, I said, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And everything got better because they listened.
I know, he was that funny. That dog.
I think a little bit of a light bulb too for them, because it's like, you know what, that makes sense. Like, let's just do what he wants to do and try to help him be happy and to play the way he wants to play.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, if your dog doesn't do X trick, like, it's not going to make or break your routine if they can't do a particular trick. It really isn't.
And it's really going to benefit you to fall in love with like everything that you can in the sport, in terms of especially in freestyle. In toss and fetch, you all know what you're doing, okay? If you don't like some part of it, well, I mean, you can't really change it much. It's throw the disc, the dog brings it back, you throw the disc. It's very
There's
simple.
more elements that you kind of have to do.
Freestyle, there's just so many different things you can do, but the more you fall in love with it and can accept, well, will say, I'm not good at throwing, so I don't want to do any long throws. Well, if you get good at throwing, you're going to start enjoying those long throws. And then your dog's going to enjoy them potentially. Maybe they won't, but maybe your next dog will. But the more things that you can enjoy in the sport, the more fun you're going to have, and the more tricks that you can do, and allow these variations and the evolution of tricks to become a positive and not a negative.
Well, and to add to that, then you're creating you and your dog's style.
Yes.
Like, you specific to that dog too.
Right.
Not just your style, you specific to that dog.
Right.
And I think that that's way cooler than everybody let's do the same cookie cutter thing, and we're all doing the same tricks. And what fun is that? Like
Right.
when you're doing what your dog naturally wants to do,
How cool is
then
that?
it's like it's really your style, and
Yep.
you can go like, I don't know, I feel like you're fully fledged into like yeah,
You're
I don't
all
know,
in.
you get
You're
to,
all
yeah,
in.
you get to blossom as a full flower, not
Ooh,
a,
ooh.
you're not just like a little
Little
rosebud like
buddy.
hoping to suck up some water out of the sky. Like you're actually like the whole thing comes together. And
Yeah.
so even though you can't do X trick, but your dog could do, ABC tricks, and it's maybe something that like nobody else can do, or it's unique
Yep.
because your dog wanted to do it a certain way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, and that to me is like the fun of freestyle. I love seeing somebody
yes.
came out. One of my greatest examples, or my favorite examples of this, is her name is Jessica Ritchie. She got married, and her last name changed, and I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But she had this dog Sarge, who was a huge Malinois. Like I don't know that it would be physically possible for this dog to vault off of her, or like a lot of these different tricks. And I saw her one year at AWI World Finals, and she had like such a unique routine. Like she had this cool music, and like it was so different from what everybody else was doing. But like she nailed it. Like the throws were really good. She did some kind of gymnasty type moves, and she really showed off the dog. And I don't believe she did any dog catch. She didn't do any vaults. I think she did a couple overs, but yeah, she really showed off a lot of unique things about this dog, despite the fact that he couldn't really do a lot of your typical tricks. And she was very athletic and a great thrower herself, so that added to the routine, of course. But yeah, you could really see like their style, and her routine really stood out to me. And I believe she ended up in the top 10, or she was scored well, but yeah, it stood out to me because it was so different from what everybody else was doing, and
Yeah,
it was so good.
And the dogs will also push you to be able to either force you to do something different or whatever. If you have a dog that wants to run long, you're going to have to throw long throws, or encourage you to do something different. For me, I guess something I had always wanted to do was like really difficult throws for the dogs, but I didn't have any. Toonie, my older dogs, Toonie didn't have the drive to go after like strange looking throws. She wanted very simple throws, and Enzo had a hard time catching them. And then Slate wasn't super into freestyle, so there was like all these different things. And then I got Muse, and as soon as I got her, I saw she can catch anything, and I just thought this is just going to push me to do the craziest trick throws I can come up with.
Yeah.
Whatever.
She finally came along. Like you kind of had this.
Dog.
Yes.
And I always wanted to do that. I always loved doing things with the disc and making cool throws and just making that entertaining and interesting and athletic or whatever. And I would put in pieces and parts here and there, but I couldn't go real hardcore all in on it until Muse happened. And I remember telling you, I'm throwing everything out there.
Yeah.
Every single throw I could do, because even if it doesn't come out perfect or whatever, she's going to catch it and look good doing it,
Yeah.
And then those throws that I was using just got better and better. And now I can do them even if I haven't done some of them in years. I decide, hey, what about this throw in like pairs? And I used to do this, and it just comes out perfect because I've done it so many times with her. It's all ingrained into me now, and I got it all. It's all there.
That's kind of like how I felt with Sora. I really wanted to come up with these very complex routines as far as like the way the dog's moving, like away from you, and like the close stuff, the complexity of it. And I was able to do some of that with Torch, but not all of it. And I was able to do some of it with Sketch, but not all of it. And I feel like when Sora came along, she was a mix of both. I was a little bit limited with what I could do with Flash because he wasn't so interested. He was also really big, so it was very hard to do some of the more complex moves without me like getting hit in the face or something. And so it was just interesting because like Sora came along, and she's like such a thinker. She likes the complexity and she likes that style, and like the more things, like she's like, please ask me to do like 20 things. And she loves it. So I feel like I got a lot of the things that I wanted to do with her. And not that I don't enjoy playing with my other dogs, but it's just different styles. And sometimes you're kind of itching to do something in particular. And then like, one day, like you get another dog and they do it, and it's like, oh yeah, I really wanted to do that. And yeah, it's just interesting.
Well, it's like Bon with her being so little. I started thinking, well, what can I do with her? Because she's so tiny. And that's when I came up with the idea that, I mean, no one's ever done.
Oh my God.
I pass her underneath my leg from one hand to the other and then toss a disc off. And I mean, it's just crazy. I started out, you know what? I'm not going to leave the cat out of the bag. I had another version of the trick, and I'm not going to tell you because I still might do it. So I don't want someone to take it.
Oh, wow. Jeff keeping secrets in
Yeah,
here.
I started the trick completely different thing, doing something with her because she's so little. And that was kind of difficult. I think because she was too wiggly.
Yeah.
Because she was still wiggly whenever I put her under my leg, but at least I had control of her, and I didn't have to worry about dropping her or anything like that. So I do the when I do the trick now though, she just goes completely limp. Like it's so easy. She
like,
puts her head down, and I just pass her under. And
she's like, I'm ready.
So I'd say I'd like to wrap up to say just allow tricks to evolve. And sometimes better things can come out of them. You learn, your dog learns, and make it more fun.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, enjoy the process. Don't get too stuck on one thing.
Yeah, and with your pairs partner, do the same thing. And then if you haven't done pairs, try it because you're going to see these kind of things happen. If you have an idea, you're going to see your pairs partner interpret it a little bit differently, maybe
or totally different.
Or totally
you're like,
different.
What is wrong with you? And then you have an argument.
Yeah, and then she hits me.
And then you end the friendship. Hey, speaking of which,
I'm tapping my arm for the people who are listening.
Don't we have a pairs routine to come up with? We should probably go do that.
It's gonna be tough.
All right, you guys.
We gotta do it.
We gotta go do that.
Love your dogs.
This has been the Disc
Dog
Pod. Bye.